Hello everyone. I just wanted to start a Devo tonight outside, and it's a beautiful night. It's a little hot. It's 90 degrees and probably that much humidity from the rain that we got last night, but this is the corner of our building here at Wymore Church of Christ, and here's our bell out front. You can see the front of our building, I think, behind me, and the church name and all of that, and the bell display here that's in front of our building. And I brought you outside because I want to take you inside. And I thought this would be a good place to start, right out here in front of our church building. Now, our church building is not the church, it's just the church building. You are the church, you are the bride of Christ, the people are the church, but this Sunday we get to meet together again in two worship services like we normally have done at 8 a.m. and at 10:45 a.m. And we know the 8 a.m. service isn't the best for some people, especially if you have children, and maybe you're not going to want to come back to church this Sunday anyway because, we're not going to have nursery, we're not going to have junior worship, we're not going to have Sunday school, we're not going to have small groups, but we are going to be worshiping together right here in this building in the church. You guys are going to come to the church building, and we are going to be able to worship on a greater scale than we have in about 3 months. And man, it has been a long haul. So now that I see some people that are getting on, say it takes a while to build an audience, and it says that we can bring people on camera now. That's a new function. I might try that with Mike and Jess. Bring them on. They won't. Okay. Well, I don't know. Facebook Live has added something new and cool, and we're going to have to try that some other time, but it's good to see you all watching here. Hi, Jackie and Linda and Barb and James and Mike and Jess and Tiffany. Good to see all of you here and Barb Smith. So, this is what you can expect this Sunday morning when we start worship at 8 a.m. again and 10:45 for the very first time. Thankfully for people, and thankfully that's because of people like you that serve, and they will be cleaning the church between services, and that's what it's going to have to happen for us to be able to worship a couple different times. So thank you so much for those who are serving in that capacity. That is really, really cool, and some of you are on here tonight. I think Jackie and James are some that are going to be involved with that, and thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate that. So again, here's what you can expect. We're going to walk on in here, and I'm going to do my best to be, like one of those YouTubers that my kids like to watch and not shake the camera, hopefully too much. But you'll notice when you come to our front doors that our front door is going to be propped open. Now, normally that's a no-no because we don't like bugs inside of our building and we don't like heat inside of our building, but you don't have to open the door, right? You can just come right on in. Come into the foyer here, and we have our handy dandy welcome sign, although I think you see it backwards, so it looks like Emeklu or something like that. But it says welcome. Trust me, when you're looking at it the right way, it says welcome. And you're going to come right over here. If you have children, check this out. These are the tables that Frecia has set up for preschool and kindergarten. First, second, and third grades, and Frecia will be here. Miss Frecia will, with a mask on, and she'll be handing those out to kids. Now, we can't pass offering trays, and we can't pass communion trays, but if you have an offering, here, check this out. Offering. Those are offering boxes. You can just drop your offering right there in the top, and we'll get it. There's even some handy-dandy hand sanitizer right there for you to use in case you touch the box or whatever else, okay? And then you're going to come in. The sanctuary doors are open. Can you see that? They're open. Come into, I guess we call it the sanctuary. Some call it the auditorium. It's our big room where we worship together. God doesn't live here, but he lives in us. And when we're in this building, then we are worshiping together as a church. And look at that. Our auditorium looks pretty much the same as it always has, except for maybe the moving of the piano. We got a new keyboard thanks to a wonderful donation, and it really does an incredible job. But our piano now is on the back wall. Because we haven't been using that, we've been using the keyboard. So you'll see a little bit difference, but mainly we're the same. And then you can see a couple strips of blue tape, can you, behind me? And if you look closely, you'll see a bunch of strips of blue tape, and those are to mark off where you cannot go, and we've marked out basically every other row. So you can see that the pews are marked off. Can you see that? We're going to walk right down here like this, and you just pick your seat. You can come into your seat if you want, and what you'll notice is that in front of you there's going to be communion. And the communion packets are pre-packaged. And so you'll come in, sit down. See, here's where I'm sitting. I'm sitting right on the center aisle. There's our communion right there. We're going to take that communion. There's a thin plastic film. You peel off the top and you can eat the bread. And then there's a foil top and you can drink the juice. And then you put your trash in the trash bin right there. And then we will pick it up when you are done. You will also have bulletins right there in your seat. And just for good measure, Miss D threw in a couple daily breads for this summer. So if you would like to have one of those daily bread devotionals, you can also grab one of those. And that's kind of how things are going to work. I don't think I left really anything out. Let's see, we only want 2 people in the bathroom at times, no more than 2. I would say 1, except when we have small children, sometimes 2 people need to go in, obviously, at the same time. And so we don't want to crowd around in the bathrooms there. But again, we have plenty of hand sanitizer. We have plenty of soap in the bathrooms. We've done a good job, I think, of trying to make sure you have a wonderful experience on Sunday morning. So I really just wanted to share that with you tonight and kind of relieve any anxiety someone might have. If you have some questions about Sunday, you can put them on there. Hello, Louise and Doreen and Tony. Good to see you guys on here tonight. And we're just talking about how things are going to work because we're going to have 2 worship services Sunday, one at 8 a.m., one at 10:45 a.m., and we can't do some of the other stuff, but we can gather together as God's people. And I'm excited about that. I really am. Even though we're not going to be shaking hands and that sort of thing, we get to be in the same room together, and it is going to be cool. And we're going to finish up our series on Habakkuk, The Waiting. And we've been waiting a long time for this time to be able to get back together, at least in our worship services. And so we hope that we can provide you with a place Sunday, just an oasis in the midst of everything else that is going on. So that's about it. You'll probably notice too, we'll have a video camera set up here that is really, really small. It's a Mevo camera, and I'm going to show it to you right now. Here it is. It's this tiny thing right here. It's like a couple inches wide by about 3 inches tall. It's really, really small, and it's set up here to catch the whole stage. So I don't think I have anything else to say about that. It's good to see you guys tonight. I'm going to go to my office now, and we'll actually do our Devo part. So stick with me. Walk up here on stage. We're going to have to go through the secret passageway back here to my office. And it looks much the same. If I showed you some of that, Louise, it looks very, very similar, doesn't it, to what you remember going through a couple of doors there. And then here we are in our office. And here's the sign on my door that says recording in progress because I don't want anybody to bug me. And I shut the door and I lock the door. And now they all have to stay out. I did forget something. I was going to bring a music stand in here for my notes, and I did not do that. So I guess I'm not going to have a music stand. I usually have some level of notes here to be able to talk and to share from. And I try to be honest. Not that there are times that I don't try to be honest, but on these Devo times, I really, really try to be honest with you about just what my heart is feeling. Sometimes I might not be the most articulate when it comes to our Devo times, but I do want to share from my heart. And that's really, really what I try to do during these times. So we do look forward to seeing you on Sunday. As far as our Devo tonight, well, I want to go back and catch something from Proverbs. It just seems appropriate to me. During May, We did a chapter a week out of Proverbs, or a chapter a day out of Proverbs. And our weekly devos were centered around what we covered in Proverbs that day. Now, I had read ahead a little bit. I kind of knew the end of the story. I knew that Proverbs 31 has a section in there. It's an epilogue or an add-on at the end that is a poem that is about wives and mothers, the Proverbs 31 woman. So I was going to take all those verses and post them on the 31st because it's Proverbs 31. And the 31st was Sunday. And so I had a good plan going into the weekend. Okay, we're going to wrap up the Proverbs thing. Okay, and I'm going to do the Proverbs 31 woman. I decided that. I hadn't read the chapter. I know. I kind of cheated a little bit, didn't I? Because I knew what was ahead. But God works all things out, because it was going to be the Proverbs 31 woman. And then Sunday morning, I got a message from one of you, one of our viewers, about their favorite verses for the day, which are Proverbs chapter 31, verses 8 and 9. Now, if you turn to Proverbs 31, at the top of the chapter, these are the sayings of King Lemuel. The sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance his mother taught him. You ladies should like that, right? So King Lemuel's mother told him these things. So, and apparently she could probably tell that he was going to become a king someday. And God inspired this in this case. Well, who is King Lemuel? We don't have King Lemuel in the Bible. What does that even mean? Well, we know that the word, the part L at the end, like Samuel, or Daniel, E-L on the very end of that, means it's part of God's name. And Lemuel means devoted to God. And what we think, because we don't have a King Lemuel in the Bible, and we're not aware of any King Lemuel who exists in the rest of the world during that time, that this was a nickname or a pet name for King Solomon from his mother, who gave him this instruction. Now, who was King Solomon's mother? Does anyone out there know? Can anyone out there comment and know who King Lemuel's mother was and King Solomon's mother? Who was King Solomon's mother? Well, I'm not seeing anybody just bring that up, but King Solomon's mother was a woman named Bathsheba. That's right, Bathsheba. And if you know anything about King David, you may have heard of David and Bathsheba. And David had an inappropriate relationship with her, and she got pregnant and gave birth to a son. And David had sent her husband to the front line, Uriah the Hittite, to be killed, and he was killed. And then she had this baby, and then the baby died, and it's a tragic, tragic story, and it's how sin affects things, and it's kind of a difficult story. But they had another son. David married Bathsheba and took her into his home to be his wife, and she had Solomon, and she gave him this pet name, King Lemuel, and she was inspired to write these things. So Bathsheba, who has a black mark beside her name, wouldn't you know it, God uses her. She would be one of those bad girls of the Bible. There's a whole book about that and a study about that. I've just heard about it, haven't read it because I'm not a bad girl. But Rebecca has read it, and there's a group of women that, well, she's not a bad woman either. But they did some study on that. And so anyway, Bathsheba. See, here's what happens when I have a music stand and be able to set my notes on. I end up just talking away, giving you way more than you paid for tonight on this Thursday night. So, again, these are some things that are addressed in chapter 31 of Proverbs. King Lemuel's mother gave him this advice, and part of it had to do with not getting caught up with women. Hey, that's a very good advice for a king or any leader or any man, to not be ensnared with sin with women. So we don't want to do that. And then be careful about wine, be careful about beer. You might forget that you're the king, and something bad could happen there. And then Proverbs 31 verses 8 and 9, and they say this: "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. Speak up. I don't think it's an accident that these verses came on this weekend, where there's a lot of commotion, a lot of turmoil, a lot of turbulent times going on in our country for a variety of reasons. And even to just mention it, you might start shooting at me, just to bring up some of the struggles that we're having. But like I said a little bit ago, I just want to be real with you guys and just share from my heart a little bit. And so one of you, one of our faithful viewers had messaged me early Sunday morning with their favorite verses from our Proverbs challenge. And they were verses 8 and 9. I got this message right after I finished writing something for our welcome time that we talked about some of the struggle that's going on in our country right now and some of my personal struggle. And part of what I had just written was, I am not going to be silent about this anymore. There are some things going on in our country that I need to talk about, and by being silent, I'm ignoring that and I'm kind of marginalizing that. And what are the first two words of Proverbs 31:8? Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Literally, those who are mute, those who have no voice. Speak up for those people. And the word speak up means to open wide your mouth. Don't be quiet about it. Don't be silent about it. Speak up. Open wide your mouth for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the destitute. Destitute is a Hebrew word that means that which is left behind. It's a word used to describe orphans who have been left behind. Their parents have gone on without them, and they are left behind. They have been glossed over. They have been overlooked. So speak up. Open wide your mouth for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. The rights. Boy, there's a lot of words that have been spoken and written about rights. And what rights do we have? Rights come from our Creator. And they're not given to us from a government or from a piece of paper. And our founding fathers recognized that these rights are inalienable rights. They're rights that can't be taken away, given us by our Creator. And, there's a lot of talk in our culture about rights. And there are people in our culture and our society that don't get a fair shake. There are some people like that, and that includes people in the black community. It also includes poor people, includes marginalized people. They need someone to speak up for them when they cannot be heard and when they're not being heard. So who will do that? These were written by King Solomon's mother, Bathsheba. They were spoken to him. He wrote them down and he remembered them. He was a person that had power. And some people have more power than others in our culture, and sometimes that's related to skin color, and sometimes that's not. But we need to speak up for those who have been left behind, who have been glossed over, who cannot fend for themselves, whoever those people happen to be. And then verse 9, speak up and judge fairly. So speak up, open wide your mouth, same exact phrasing there, and judge fairly. Judge fairly. That's a word that's used in Micah chapter 6, verse 8. What does the Lord require of you? But to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. To act justly, to judge justly, to do justice. Or in Micah 6:8, it's to work justice. Work for justice. We want to judge fairly, which is righteously. The word means to be straight. as in trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. That's Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. This is the word judge fairly, judge straightly. Be a straight shooter. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. Do what is just for the poor and the needy. The poor. Well, we know who the poor are. They're poor, some synonyms: lowly, meek and mild, wretched, afflicted. Those are some other words, how this other ways this Hebrew word is translated. The New Testament equivalent means to toil for daily sustenance. So someone who is literally having to rely on God for their daily bread. They would have to go and work in order to eat for that day. That is poor. That's really poor. Most of us don't know that kind of poor. And to judge fairly and do justice for the poor and for the needy, those who are in need or those who are oppressed. The New Testament word means to be weak or infirm and feeble. So some of these are poor but strong. That's the first one, the poor. They're poor, but they're strong. Some are poor and weak. Those are the needy, and we should help them if we can. So we want to give a voice to those who don't have a voice, those who aren't being heard, and to help others when we can help them, when we're in a position to be able to help them. Some people have had a tough go. If you're able to help them, go ahead and help. And as we conclude things tonight, because I'd like to keep these right about 20 minutes, and I spent a lot of time outside and walking you into our building so you know what to expect this weekend to come back to church. But we have some people, some generous people in our congregation who have donated some funds to be able to help some people. If you know some needy people, please let us know so we can get them help. We're supposed to help those who are poor, those who are in need, and some generous people have donated extra money besides our compassion fund, which we already use to give funds to people who are poor and those who are in need. And these are above and beyond funds that are to be used to help people who are in need. So please let us know. Message us or something and just let us know if you know someone who is in need at this time. And we trust that there are probably needs out there, but just needs that we're not aware of. So please help us. Please make them aware to us. Make sure that we are aware of them so that we're able to help people who are really poor and in need. And most of all, we need to remember to speak up, to open wide our mouths. So let us know who that might be. We'll keep things confidential and all of that. Message us. You can message me on here. You can message the church on here, and I will get that, or email us or call us or courier pigeon or smoke signals or somehow get that information to us. So thanks for bearing with tonight. It's great to see you all. I'm not sure what is coming for next Thursday. I'm not sure what's coming for a week from Sunday even. Usually I'm plenty ahead, but I am just trusting God through all of this as you are. And so thanks for holding with us. Thanks for all of your wonderful, wonderful support. And again, if you know someone poor or needy that is in need right now, please let us know and we will do our best to help with that. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Bye now.